Chapter 4: Echoes of Time. As the years slipped away in the forgotten palace, I found myself caught in a strange web of magic and memories. Now 16, I often stared into the flickering candles of my dimly lit room, their flames dancing like the hopes I harbored in my heart. The silver star pendant around my neck had become both a reminder of my past and a beacon of my potential. Yet with every day that passed, the walls of this palace felt more like a cage than a sanctuary. The ghost of Captain Jareth, the seer who had once walked these halls, was my only companion. His presence was a blend of warmth and the chilling weight of his wisdom, and he guided me through the intricacies of my lightning magic. "You must learn to harness the storm within you, Kaida," he would say, his voice echoing in my mind like distant thunder. His lessons were rigorous, demanding every ounce of my focus, but I yearned for something more than mastery of my abilities. I craved freedom. I often spent my afternoons in the training room, where the air crackled with the energy of my spells. Each time I summoned lightning from my fingertips, I felt a rush of exhilaration, as if I were touching the very essence of the storm. But each flash of power was also tinged with frustration, for despite my progress, I remained shackled by the isolation of the palace. My heart ached for the world beyond its walls, a world that seemed to move on without me. "Kaida, concentrate." Jareth's voice broke through my thoughts as I stumbled during a particularly challenging exercise. The spark I had conjured flickered out, leaving me with only the sound of my own frustration. "You cannot afford to let your mind wander. The power of lightning is both a gift and a burden. You must respect it." I nodded, swallowing my irritation. "I understand," I replied, though my voice was laced with a hint of rebellion. "But it's hard to focus when all I can think about is being trapped here." His translucent figure shimmered slightly, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of empathy in his gaze. "I know it feels that way. But remember, Kaida, every moment you spend honing your skills is a step toward your freedom. You may not see it now, but this training is crucial for what lies ahead." As I resumed my practice, his words echoed in my mind. While I wanted to believe in the promise of my training, the yearning for the life I once had gnawed at me. The letters from my family served as bittersweet reminders of the warmth I missed. Each letter was like a lifeline thrown to me, tethering me to a reality that felt increasingly distant. One evening, as I sat on the floor of my room, the latest letter crinkled in my hands, I felt the familiar pang of longing wash over me. Eric's handwriting sprawled across the page, detailing their daily lives and small adventures in Linera. "Today we found a hidden glade by the river, and Mom let us have a picnic. I could almost hear your laughter in the wind," he wrote. The words warmed my heart yet twisted it painfully at the same time. I could picture the glade, the sunlight filtering through the leaves, the sound of laughter echoing in the air, yet it was just a fantasy I could never reach. Aria's letters often carried a different tone, filled with tales of mischief and the trouble she found herself in. "You would not believe it, Kaida. I climbed the old oak tree again, but this time I almost fell. I know you would have stopped me, but I wish you could have been there. I miss you." Her words dripped with both humor and sadness, a reminder of the bond we shared that was now strained by distance. Each letter I received was a treasure, yet they also deepened the chasm between us. My parents, too, poured their regrets onto the pages. "We wish we had done more to protect you," my mother wrote in one letter, the ink smudged as if she had cried while writing it. "The nights are long without you. Your father tries to keep his spirits up, but I can see the sadness in his eyes." My heart ached for them. I felt their pain as if it were my own, amplifying my longing to return. "Kaida," Jareth's voice broke through my reverie one evening, the urgency in his tone pulling me from my thoughts. "The world outside is shifting. The Dark Continent has fallen into chaos. A new ruler has risen, and whispers of war are spreading across the lands." The news struck me like a bolt of lightning, sharp and jarring. My heart raced as I considered the implications. War. The thought filled me with a mixture of dread and determination. Was this the reason I had been kept in this palace, hidden away from the world? I had trained hard, but was I truly ready to face whatever storms lay ahead? The people need you, Kaida. They need the strength you possess, Jareth continued, his translucent form shimmering in the dim light. But strength is not just in magic, it is also in your spirit. You must decide what kind of person you want to be. The choice hung in the air between us, heavy with significance. Did I want to still be a student, waiting for the next lesson to come? Or did I want to take charge of my life, to emerge from this palace and find my place in the world? As the shadows of doubt crept in, I felt a surge of defiance rising within me. I want to break free, Jareth, I admitted, the words spilling from my lips. I want to take charge of my life, not just wait for something to happen. I need to see my family again. I want to be part of the world. Jareth nodded slowly, understanding etched on his ethereal face. Then prepare yourself, Kaida. The journey ahead will not be easy, but if you are ready to embrace your destiny, the path will reveal itself. A flicker of hope ignited in my chest. I was tired of being confined to the shadows of this palace. I wanted to feel the wind on my face, to run through the fields of Linera, to reunite with my family and face whatever awaited me outside these walls. The world was changing, and so must I. As I clutched the star pendant tightly, I felt a renewed sense of purpose surging through me. I would no longer let fear dictate my path. With every lesson I had learned, with every bit of magic I had harnessed, I was ready to step into the light, ready to forge my own destiny. But as I contemplated the world outside, the stark contrast between my desires and my reality weighed heavily on my heart. Each passing day in the palace felt like a countdown to something monumental, and I was not sure if I was prepared for it. I was bursting with questions and an overwhelming need to take action. What was happening in the world beyond these walls? What had my family endured in my absence? One night, I decided to voice my frustrations to Jareth. Why do we have to stay here? I feel like a bird trapped in a cage, waiting for the door to open, I expressed, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and sadness. I want to explore, to see the world, to fight for what's right. Why must I wait? He paused, his presence shifting in the dim light. Because, Kaida, sometimes waiting is part of the journey. The world is not a safe place, and you need to be prepared for what you might encounter. Your training is not just for show, it's to help you survive. You have power, but with great power comes responsibility. I understand that, but what good is this power if I cannot use it? I am wasting away here. I shot back, frustration bubbling to the surface. The storm you carry is formidable, but it is also unpredictable, Jareth said firmly. You must learn to channel it. You will have your chance to break free, but you must be ready to face the consequences of your actions. His words sank into my mind like stones in a pond, rippling outward with truth. What would I do if I were to leave this palace? Would I be prepared for the challenges waiting for me? There was a fear there, a fear of failure, of being unworthy of the legacy I was meant to uphold. I could not afford to let my family down again. But deep down, I felt the seed of rebellion stirring within me. I was no longer a frightened child who needed to be protected. I was Kaida, a girl with lightning in her veins and the determination to change her fate. I was ready to face whatever lay ahead, even if it meant stepping into the unknown. The more I trained with Jareth, the more I felt the pull of the outside world. Each crackle of lightning that surged through me echoed the roar of my longing. I pictured my family, my home, the laughter that echoed in our living room. Those moments felt like a dream I could barely grasp anymore. And as each day passed, the dream transformed into a burning desire. With resolve building inside me, I looked up at the window, the night sky blanketed with stars. I will find a way, I whispered, determination lacing my voice. I will not let the darkness of this palace hold me back any longer. I needed to uncover the truth of the world outside, what had happened to my family, the state of the other continents, and the rising threats that loomed over Ignitia. I could feel the weight of destiny pressing down on me, urging me to take the first steps toward the life I yearned for. As the days turned into weeks, I resolved to push beyond the confines of my training. I began experimenting with my powers in secret, conjuring small bolts of lightning that danced around my fingertips and illuminating the dark corners of the palace. Each spark of energy made me feel more alive, fueling my desire to break free. One fateful evening, as I trained alone in the courtyard, I felt a sudden surge of energy, the kind that made the air vibrate with possibility. It was as if the universe was whispering secrets to me, urging me to listen. With a flick of my wrist, I released a bolt of lightning into the sky, illuminating the night with brilliant hues of blue and white. The sound of thunder echoed in the distance, but it was more than just a show of power. It was a declaration of my intent. "Soon, the world will know my name," I whispered, feeling the exhilaration coursing through me. The palace walls that had once felt so imposing now seemed like mere barriers, ready to be shattered. In the days that followed, my determination only grew stronger. I meticulously planned my escape, gathering supplies and observing the routines of the palace guards Jarrett had set up. I could no longer ignore the spark of rebellion within me. It was time to confront my fears and take charge of my destiny. Jareth had prepared me well, and now I was ready to put my skills to the test. On the night of the new moon, when darkness blanketed the land, I made my move. Cloaked in shadows, I slipped past the guards, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. The familiar halls of the palace seemed to pulse with energy as I navigated through them, my resolve unwavering. I was determined to reach the outside world and discover the truth for myself. As I finally stepped through the heavy doors that led outside, the cool night air wrapped around me like a long-lost embrace. The stars twinkled overhead, and I breathed in the scent of freedom. The world stretched out before me, vast and filled with possibilities, and I felt alive for the first time in years. But as I took my first steps into the unknown, I couldn't shake the lingering doubts in my mind. What awaited me beyond the palace walls? Would my family even recognize me after all this time? And what if the chaos in the Dark Continent had spread to Ignitia? My heart raced with the uncertainty of it all, but I pushed those thoughts aside. I had to be brave. I had to be the hero of my own story. The journey ahead would not be easy, but I was prepared to face whatever challenges lay in my path. My heart was set on reuniting with my family and standing up against the darkness that threatened our world. I could feel the storm within me rising, and I knew that it was time to embrace my destiny. With newfound determination, I took a deep breath and stepped forward into the night, ready to forge my path and reclaim my place in a world that had long forgotten me.